The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, traditionally revered as direct accounts by their namesakes, reveal a more intricate genesis upon scholarly scrutiny. Composed between 65 and 110 CE, these texts emerged not from the pens of the disciples themselves, but from the hands of anonymous authors within their respective circles, drawing upon oral traditions and early written sources. The Gospel of Mark, likely penned in Rome or Syria around 65 to 70 CE, set the stage as the earliest narrative, followed by Matthew around 80 to 90 CE in possibly Antioch or Judea, Luke around 80 to 90 CE in perhaps Greece or Asia Minor, and John around 90 to 110 CE in likely Ephesus. Each reflects a distinct theological purpose, shaped by the needs of nascent Christian communities rather than individual authorship. The absence of explicit self-identification within the texts, combined with their reliance on Greek, a language not native to most disciples, further undermines the traditional view, suggesting instead a collaborative process mediated by educated scribes. The preservation of these Gospels, evidenced by fragments such as P52 from John around 125 to 150 CE, P45 from Mark and Luke around 200 to 250 CE, P1 and P64 plus 67 from Matthew around 150 to 250 CE, and P4 from Luke around 150 to 200 CE, underscores their early dissemination and the fortuitous survival of copies in Egypt's arid conditions. Now housed in prestigious institutions, the Chester Beatty Library, John Rylands University Library, University of Pennsylvania Museum, Bibliothèque Nationale de France, and others, these artifacts bridge the ancient and modern worlds. The later codices, Sinaiticus and Vaticanus from around 300 to 350 CE, consolidate this legacy, offering near-complete texts that affirm the canon formalized by figures like Athanasius in 367 CE and ratified by subsequent councils. This process, spanning centuries, highlights the dynamic interplay of orality, scribal transmission, and ecclesiastical authority. Ultimately, the Gospels embody not just historical accounts but the evolving faith of early Christianity, distilled through communal memory rather than direct dictation. Their journey from scattered papyri to revered codices reflects both human endeavor and environmental chance, preserving narratives that continue to shape religious identity. While tradition ascribes them to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the evidence points to a broader authorship, challenging believers to reconcile faith with historical complexity, a tension that enriches rather than diminishes their significance. Critical conclusion. Those who steadfastly maintain that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John personally authored their respective Gospels exhibit a troubling reluctance to engage with the robust evidence presented herein. The traditionalist stance, clinging to the notion that these disciples, largely illiterate Aramaic-speaking fishermen except perhaps Luke, penned sophisticated Greek texts decades after Jesus' death, flies in the face of scholarly consensus and textual analysis. No autographs exist. The earliest fragments such as P52 and P45 postdate the disciples' likely lifespans from 60 to 100 CE by decades or centuries, and the Gospels' interdependence, such as Matthew and Luke borrowing from Mark, belies eyewitness originality. To assert their direct authorship is to ignore the anonymous nature of the texts, the linguistic and temporal gaps, and the clear role of scribal communities in their creation, an act of intellectual obstinacy that borders on willful blindness. Why, then, do such believers resist this reality? One might question their interest, or lack thereof, in tracing the origins of their sacred texts and, by extension, the foundations of their beliefs. Is it fear that acknowledging anonymous authorship undermines divine inspiration? Or a preference for comforting tradition over unsettling fact? The evidence, papyrus fragments scattered across Manchester, Dublin, and Paris, codices in the Vatican and British Library, demands a reckoning with history, yet many choose to avert their gaze. This refusal suggests a deeper disinterest in how their faith was shaped. Through oral retellings, communal editing, and ecclesiastical curation, not pristine dictation from Jesus' inner circle. Such incuriosity betrays a faith more fragile than its adherents admit, one that crumbles under scrutiny rather than adapts to it. Moreover, this blindness raises ethical concerns. If the Gospel's power lies in their message, not their bylines, why cling to a fiction that obscures the collaborative spirit of early Christianity? By rejecting the messy human process detailed here, decades of transmission from 65 to 110 CE across Rome, Antioch, and Ephesus, believers diminish the resilience of their tradition. They opt for a sanitized myth over a dynamic truth, leaving one to wonder, what drives this choice? Is it laziness, dogma, or a refusal to confront the possibility that faith can coexist with uncertainty? The facts stand clear. The question remains why so many prefer darkness to light.